Yankees Nation, take a deep breath, because the Bronx today is loaded with that atmosphere only we understand. On one side, the long shadow of 16 seasons without lifting a trophy, the bitter memory of the loss to Toronto, and a clear warning that this roster needs more than hope. It needs heavy reinforcement, especially in the rotation. On the other side, two massive names circling Yankee Stadium: Sandy Alcantara and Tarik Skubal, one returning to Cy Young form after Tommy John, the other dominant, an ERA leader, a monster who could completely change the fate of 2026. And in the middle of all that, the homegrown future: Spencer Jones, Gil, Warren, Lagrange. Who stays? Who becomes trade bait? How much is the Bronx willing to pay to climb back to the top? The truth is simple: Yankees Nation. Today we're talking about heavy decisions, the kind that shape the future of an entire franchise. Hit that like button, show that the Pinstripes family is alive, and let's feel this together. Because here, when the Bronx shakes, the whole MLB trembles. News 1. All right, Yankees Nation. So let's dive straight into the first story. The season has turned, but the wound is still open. It's been 16 years without raising the trophy, an eternity for the most heavyweight uniform in baseball. The trip to the 2024 World Series looked like the start of a rebirth, but the fall to Toronto, first in the division, then in the playoffs, exposed what every fan felt deep inside. This team still doesn't scare anyone the way it should. The Bronx is restless. The pressure is constant. And every sector of the roster, rotation, bullpen, lineup, is asking for reinforcements, like someone yelling for help in the middle of Yankee Stadium. And what came next nobody expected, because right in the middle of that open wound need, a name appears that changes the air: Sandy Alcantara, the former Cy Young winner, returning from Tommy John, regaining rhythm, showing flashes of the monster who dominated the National League. The question that set the Bronx on fire was direct: what's the price to bring this guy home? The idea of using Luis Gil or Warren as the main piece in the deal messes with the fans' heads. They're homegrown talents, young, promising. But at the same time, Alcantara will be a legitimate ace to lead a group that will begin 2026 without Cole, Schmidt, and Rodon for the first few weeks. And that's when the tension starts, involving Spencer Jones, still full of gaps in his game, especially if Tucker arrives or Bellinger resigns. Is it worth sacrificing that future in exchange for a stronger present? It's the kind of dilemma that makes the Bronx boil. But I'll ask you, Yankees Nation, what would you do? Behind the scenes, and this is in the subtext of the news, the sense is that there is, in fact, a path. Miami wants a rotation replacement and a long-term bat. The Yankees have exactly that. Gil or Warren as the immediate piece, Spencer Jones as the long-term upside. Internally, though, the feeling is one of fragile balance. Removing more pieces, like Brock Selvage or Caden Kent, shakes the system. But maybe that's the price of ambition. Listening to the fans, you can feel the mix of anxiety and hope. It's that moment when the Bronx holds its breath, because it knows decisions like these define eras. And deep down, this story throws a brutal contrast in our faces. On one side, the tradition of developing homegrown talent, the Pinstripes' pride in watching young players become stars. On the other, the weight of the uniform that demands titles, demands now, demands a response after years in the dark. Alcantara's name ignites exactly that: doubt, ambition, pressure. It feels like one of those turbulent chapters only the Yankees can turn into an epic. And even so, the fans keep believing because the Bronx never bows its head. News 2. Hold on tight. Yankees Nation, because the second story hits the heart of the fan base. The pressure to reinforce the rotation isn't theory, it's reality. The Yankees finished 2025 showing clear signs of wear injuries and inconsistency. The Bronx knows, without depth on the mound, there is no October. And that's exactly where a name appears that changes the entire mood. Tarik Skubal, a dominant pitcher, one of the best in the league, someone who could step into Yankee Stadium and instantly raise the standard. And what came next nobody expected, because the deal suggested by Jim Bowden is the kind that makes the fan base hold its breath. Skubal will arrive in the Bronx in exchange for Spencer Jones, Will Warren, Carlos Lagrange, and Bryce Cunningham, a massive portion of the organization's future. It's a heavy price, but when you look at Skubal's recent resume, it makes sense. 2 Cy Young Awards, 2 years leading the American League in ERA, a ridiculous performance in 2024 and 2025, a 2.21 ERA last season. He's the type of pitcher who changes the identity of an entire rotation. And in the middle of that comes an emotional dilemma involving Jones, the same prospect the Yankees wouldn't trade for anyone except Paul Skeens just a few months ago. Now, with so many needs and so little patience, the rules shift. Can the Bronx handle giving up that much young talent to try to win right now? The reaction behind the scenes is predictable. Tension. The fans are divided. Some understand that Warren, despite being promising, ended 2025 with a 4.44 ERA and shifted into a bullpen role. Maybe his future really is better outside the Bronx. Lagrange, standing 2.01 meters tall with a 164 kilometers per hour fastball, is a raw diamond any team would want. Losing him would hurt. But at the same time, Skubal is a kind of reinforcement that turns ambition into reality. Inside the franchise, the feeling is mixed. Pride in having so much talent and fear of losing it. Hunger for a championship and caution about the future. It's the classic pinstripes atmosphere. Pressure, doubt, hope, and that old question, how far are you willing to go to climb back to the top? In the end, this story exposes a deep contrast between philosophy and necessity. The Yankees always took pride in developing talent, but the history of this uniform is also written through aggressive moves, big decisions, and massive risks. Skubal represents exactly that. A leap of faith, a cry from the Bronx demanding immediate competitiveness. And deep down, it's yet another emotional storm this franchise knows all too well, when the weight of tradition meets the desperation for the next banner atop Yankee Stadium. So let's wrap it up, Yankees Nation, because after these 2 stories, you can feel the ground in the Bronx shaking. On one side, Sandy Alcantara, a symbol of rebirth, of calculated risk, of rebuilding a rotation that begins 2026 full of gaps. On the other, Tarik Skubal, pure dominance, an immediate force that could change the team's destiny. And between those 2 possibilities lies a dilemma only someone who lives this uniform understands. Protect the future or buy the present. Gill, Warren, Jones, Lagrange, names filled with expectation. Players who could become stars, but who could also be exactly the price that separates the Yankees from returning to true powerhouse status. These 2 stories reveal far more than market rumors. They reveal the soul of this moment. A pressured team, a restless fan base, a front office facing decisions that will shape the next decade. And the question echoing through Yankee Stadium is simple and heavy. How long can you wait? Being a Yankee means carrying greatness, pressure, and history, even when the road feels full of turbulence. And if there's one thing the Bronx loves, it's stepping into the next chapter without fear. Drop your thoughts. Yankees Nation. Is it time to push all the chips in? Or Does patience still have a place in this journey? Come with us. Share this video, because this is where the true voice of the Bronx never goes silent.